day, Wednesday. Hope you guys are doing good. We got all the coaches here today. No coffee, I don't think, but still.
I have coffee.
You got coffee? Okay.
I have coffee.
Mistake in there. We got 2 people with coffee. 2 people with some water. But anyways, hope you guys are doing well. Couple announcements before we get into the live. It is the last week for the new year, New You Challenge. It's week 6. Congratulations to all those challengers. And it is also the last week of the My Zone Challenge. So I know everybody's going extra hard and trying to finish strong and stay committed. And you guys are doing amazing. So keep up that hard work. Another announcement we have today. Tomorrow, it is Coach Gus's birthday, so make sure that you guys are all coming in and wearing red.
Yes.
That's his favorite color, so we're going to represent and make sure that we're dressed in red from head to toe. And let's see what else we got. Game boards. Coach Susie really wanted me to mention this one. The bonus activity for this week is to post a non-scale victory on Facebook in the group, so make sure that you're racking up those points and finishing strong for your team.
Hashtag Team Susie.
She's been taking the cake with that one.
Yes, we're winning every single week, so let's take it in. Last week.
Yes.
Sorry.
Keep it going, keep it going. But, so what are we talking about today, guys? Talking about what?
Attitude.
Attitude.
I feel like I had to do that.
Yes. It's gonna be a good one. I definitely needed this one today.
I'm not gonna lie, I had to think about whether I should participate in this one because I could be a little sassy. So, but I'm here. We can talk about it.
It's a good sassy.
It's a good sassy.
It's an in charge, boss mentality sassy.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Who's kicking it off?
I guess me. All right. So essentially for this, I mean, clearly Susie had a really good point about it because, of course, when you hear attitude, almost right off the bat, you almost think of it, not always, but like in that negative kind of way, where it's like kind of like snapping back, like trying to get the last word, like you're just like, oh, like you're giving me attitude. Like that's something that always comes to mind when you hear it. So the goal here is to show you the other side, the side that works more effectively, because of course, having that kind of attitude where it's like, you know, being in charge, like getting things done is necessary, not for everything, but for very specific things in life. And with the attitude that you bring to the table, that's going to help you out with whatever situation you're in, but you have to know how to use it, how to address it, and what is the proper way to do it, not just kind of going off rip and, you know, hoping that things work. So I don't know, apparently nobody here has seen that poster except for me, but it always comes to mind, this poster that I see where it's like attitude spelled out, and then between every letter is, you know, a plus because it's adding together, and it's like attitude all together, if it's put in numbers, equals like 100. So it's like your attitude equals 100% of how you are and how the situation goes. And that, for me, makes a lot of sense, because especially after this weekend, after my run, it made me really understand even more how you can shift your attitude a lot in order to address the situation, as long as you can also bring it back and switch into what needs to be done. Because of course, when we're talking right here, like my attitude is going to be a certain way, but then when it comes to getting work done, it's like it needs to switch to be, okay, it needs to be in this address where it's like A, B, C, trying to get everything, you know, done a little bit more in order. So I think
I
we all
didn't
have.
know about that poster, but I mean, I'm like 12 years older than you, so.
Honestly, this
School
is.
times changed for me, I guess.
This is. But no, there's a lot that goes into it as well. Like, I'm sure we can all speak on things. It's Wednesday. You can think of things that have had different attitude shifts in the past, 48 hours.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know if there's anything that we want to talk about first and foremost. Anything that you guys have? I'll take that as a no.
No, yeah, I definitely, when I was driving to work today, I was like thinking, oh, this is the perfect coffee with the coaches for me today, just because this week I've been feeling that struggle with like keeping myself on track and learning when to like switch my attitude in order to be really focused. Like coming off the weekend, I just felt like I couldn't get into my week. Like it was a struggle for me. So thinking about that today and on my way to work, I just had a really I literally was just talking out loud to myself and telling myself that I need to change my attitude and that I need to be in work mode, or I need to be a certain type of focus when I'm working out, or just being more on top of myself and disciplined, and honestly being a little bit harder on myself and not being so back this week. I feel like I kind of just let myself slip, and I just feel like that wasn't okay. So I got a little upset with myself, and I was just having that mentality and switching my attitude to check myself, which I really needed it. So yeah, that's why I was like so into this topic today.
So would you say that that's something that you've always try to be like observant of? Like you're always trying to like see how your attitude is, or more so recently that you're like looking at it through, you know, a different lens, I guess?
I feel like it's more of a recent thing where I thought about it and I was like, I have never felt consistently for a long period of time where I was off or where I was on track. And that's like my next goal. Like if that makes any sense, like I feel like I'll have a really good week, a week or two, but I've never felt like I've had like a solid month of just like, wow, like I was on top of everything. I was on top of workouts, on top of reading, on top of eating. And I feel like if I had a better way of checking my attitude and having a stronger mindset, then I think I would be more consistently on top of my stuff and not feel so easily thrown off with things. So having a better attitude with that, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That's where I'm at with it.
Well, I'm gonna get a little vulnerable with you guys right now.
I was gonna say, what about you, Coach?
Yeah. You guys don't even know this, and I'm gonna share it with the Fit Fam right now. Yesterday I had a procedure done, and I have 7 stitches on my back right now, which is why I can't work out. And I want to share this with you guys because I know that there's a lot of you guys that go through, you know, life happens and situations happen that stop us from being able to work out, stop us from being able to do things. And that's where I'm at right now. And this week was very much of me checking my attitude for myself, to get me through whatever I'm going through and to support my team and to support my team here. So there was a lot of stress in my life going on, and stress doesn't get you anywhere, right? Stress is caused by you not knowing the outcome of something. And so, you know, every time, I didn't tell a lot of people about this, but every time it kind of came up, I'm like, you know, I don't want to talk about that. I want to deal with that when I get there because I'm just going to stress myself out. And so I constantly had to check myself this week, and I made sure that I made time for myself to kind of just meditate and breathe and, you know, kind of relax, because I didn't want this to be a stressful situation for me. And like Coach Ariana's like, you working out, Susie, working out?
Yeah.
And I'm like, nope, I'm not working out. Now you know why.
Now you know why. I was like, I could not get her to work out. Now I get it, okay.
But, you know, it's a different attitude, right? Like life happens, life struggles, they're real, they happen, and you just have to have, I don't like to say a positive outlook on it, but I guess that's the only way I can really say it. But I do really believe that it's okay for you to feel what you're feeling, because that's going to get to the root of what's causing it, right? So if somebody's like, don't be sad, it's, you know, it's a good day, like it's okay to be sad, it's okay to be in tune with your feelings, it's okay to understand what's causing you to feel that way, because you're able to identify it, and then you can work through it for the next time. So that's kind of my attitude adjustment for this week.
I think I want to piggyback directly off of something you said. First off, go ahead, just put some emojis in there, which I think is, I'll let you guys look at. I don't know what that means. We'll talk about that later.
It's a water gun.
It's a water gun with a knife and an axe. I don't know what that means, but alright. I directly want to piggyback off of what you said, because I 100% agree, especially on the last part of it, where I forgot what I was listening to this something. I think it might have been Joe Rogan at some point, but you know, let's take that with a grain of salt. But it was more of a mentality of someone that was in the military. I think they were like an ex-Navy SEAL or something like that. And the whole thing is like, when people got captured, like as you know, POWs or whatever, the people that wouldn't last were the ones that are always just like, just have a positive mindset, just have a positive attitude to the situation. Because all of a sudden it's like, you can't really figure out what you need to do. You can't really figure out what it's doing, because it's like, oh, like this is happening. Let's just be as high energy as possible. So it didn't allow them to really understand the gravity of the situation and then troubleshoot what needs to be done. It was the people that were like, okay, we're here. Let's understand where we're at. Let's kind of wrap our mind around it, and let's figure out what we need to do from here.
Yeah.
And so that's exactly the situation that I think, you know, you showed, where it's like, yeah, you know, everything's always gonna be like, oh, you know, be as happy as possible and like do that stuff. Which of course I'm all about. Like if you're always smiling, like super high energy and all that. But like this, it's like your attitude has to reflect the situation that you're in and what is the best way to deal with it. Like not every situation requires you to be as like high energy and happy and enthusiastic as possible. Like there's you have to bring that down a little bit during certain things. And that's why it's like I'm like 100% on board, where it's like when something happens like that, it's not always just like, oh, let's go to the next day, let's, you know, it's always gonna be a great day. Like of course we're trying to make the best out of our days, but it's like in the proper setting and like addressing it how it should be, not just, you know, whatever seems to be quote unquote the best. And that's in essence what this is all about, just like addressing the situation, that way you're as strong as you can be for that situation. Setting yourself up for success, not for just perceived success and then
Yeah.
Like, oh, I saw something earlier on Instagram, so that means you didn't see it, Sean. Nope. But it was like somebody like they're like when people like deadlift really heavy, they wear a belt, and it's like from like a doctor, and he's like having like back pain and putting on my lifting belt as tight as possible, and it's just this wall with a giant gash in it and a giant piece of duct tape and slaps it on. Like it's just like that. Like you're just addressing the issue, but you're not getting to the problem.
Yeah. And a lot of times when I do that, like I just allow myself to feel what I'm feeling, I realize that there's something that triggered it, something that happened in my life that may have triggered it, and I'm like, oh, like this is why I'm mad, this is why I'm upset, because it's bringing back memories, it's bringing back old feelings that I kind of put a Band-Aid over and like locked away. So now that I allow myself to feel what I'm supposed to feel, like I get it and I make the connection and I'm like, oh yeah, like that's not a big deal. Like I need to let go of that, and then I'm able to heal and I kind of just move forward.
So being very self-aware of
Yes,
just like your emotions.
definitely.
Yeah.
What about you? How did you enjoy your emotions today, Sean? Or this week?
This week, so I think when I get into emotions, I like to come at it from a very balanced perspective, to where it's, you know, it's appropriate to be frustrated, and it's appropriate to be calm, angry, sad, happy, you know, all the emotions that we, you know, experience on a daily basis, because you don't get to choose what you feel. You just feel it based off of what you're experiencing. But I think the point of what everyone was getting at is that you have a situation or an occurrence of something that causes a certain type of emotion, and what you have control over is the attitude that you have about that emotion. So I'm frustrated, I accept that I'm frustrated. Who wouldn't be frustrated in this situation? And I take that attitude that I have about my emotion and I bring it around into my mindset in that final step, and it's like, okay, what level do I need to be at to take this down? If I'm getting frustrated, I might need to just bring it down just a little bit, relax, calm, take a step back and look at it. In the other case, if I'm like, okay, well, I'm feeling kind of lazy today, not feeling good about myself, okay, well, identify, I'm allowed to feel that emotion, I feel it, I look at it, okay, what's the attitude I have about this? I don't want to feel low, I don't want to feel sad, I don't want to feel lazy, so mindset-wise, what can I do to change the situation or occurrence that caused that emotion? I'll be ramping up my mindset, putting myself in a high energy environment like the gym, or working here, or sitting next to Coach Valencia, or whatever it is. So that's kind of how I come at it. And period, I guess.
No, that's good. That's good. It's on par, I would say, with everything. And I liked how you put it, saying that like you're allowed to feel your emotions, because that's exactly, like, as soon as you said that, like, it clicked in my, like, a thought came through my head, and I was like, we have all of our emotions for a specific reason. Like, we're supposed to feel times of, like, you know, fear, you know, happiness, sadness, joy, like, all of those are in us for a very specific, like, you know, almost primal reason. So if we just try to, like, if we feel like anxious or worried or angry, and we're just like trying to shove it into like the back of our brain, it's only gonna make it worse.
Right.
We're only, like I said, putting a Band-Aid over the issue. And it takes like coming to terms with it and then understanding to like formulate the proper attitude to then do with the situation. Because it's both. It's like it's outside stimulus, so it's going what's happening around you, and then it's inside stimulus, like what's happening inside of you. So it's like both of those things, and you have to almost meet it in the middle to a degree to understand, okay, like where am I, and how do I feel, and like what is like going on? Is it just like, oh, these people are driving me insane, and like it's making me frustrated and angry, and it's like, okay, well, like why am I feeling that? It's like, oh, well, whatever, like, some of my childhood or something the other day, or like this person just irritates me all the time. Like, it's like finding that like middle ground and being like, okay, I understand that. And then when you come to terms with it, it's not just like this giant thing that's just like there that you feel like you can't control, and then you have like a little bit of control in the situation, a little bit of say. And then I feel like that makes it like all the more better, because you're like, okay, I got this. I can kind of take it a step down, I can go with it. I can figure out what I have to do, how I feel, how I want to address it, what I want to feel in the next like 10, 15 minutes, and then how do I take steps to get there. Because I forget what, it was in some podcast, I think it was an End My Led podcast, where one of the guests came on, and he was thinking, he's like, I was on the line at Target, right? And he constantly checks in with himself to see how he's feeling, like emotionally and stuff like that. And he's at Target, he's like, I was there waiting in line, and there was a baby crying, and like the other person just had a ton of stuff, but they were in the express line, and I found myself like being extremely frustrated. And then he checked in with himself. He's like, why am I frustrated? He's like, well, I think this person's dumb because they brought all this stuff in the express line, and that those people might be bad parents because their baby won't shut up. And he's like, okay, well, what does that have to do with me? And it's like, oh, well, I'm just getting annoyed because it's like I can't do anything about these two things. So would I rather just like sulk right here and just stay and be angry at these two things? Or do I want to figure out how I can bring my attitude up from, a 4 at what it is right now to maybe a 7? It's like, I'd probably feel happier if I got from a 4 to 7. What do I have to do to do that? It's like, oh, maybe, I gotta just kind of like think of some stuff that makes me happy, or just like send a message of gratitude. Or even ask somebody if I can help them, like rather than being angry at the person at the express line, being like, oh, is there anything I can do to help, like unload the cart, like make the process go faster? And it's like, going from like step 1, which is like I'm just upset about the world right now, to like step, let's just say 6, where it's like, okay, I can deal with this. Like that's kind of like building up that
I
mental
like that.
ability.
I need to use that method.
So, but that's like the same thing right here, where it's like awareness. It's like you need to be able to check in with yourself to understand what you're doing. Because at the same time, if I'm just frustrated for the sake of being frustrated, and I'm not going to take the time out of my day to think about it, nothing's going to get done. So it's like taking that step-by-step process. And it's going to take a lot of energy.
It does.
It's going to take a lot of patience.
And I want to piggyback off of something that you said of when sometimes somebody makes you frustrated, something that I am currently working on. So I am very much the type of person that if you put me in a corner, I'm going to push back, and you better be ready for me because I'm coming. But I have been trying to not necessarily control my thoughts, but control how I express my emotions for certain situations, which is really difficult, right? Because then you have to control your frustrations, your voice, your tone of voice, and how you react to certain situations. And I've been trying to be more mindful of that recently. When I have conversations with people that cause these emotions for me. And you do have to be very aware of yourself. You do have to think like, why am I feeling this way? Why am I upset? Why is this causing, this emotion inside of me? But I've been very careful on just being calm. And then I also recently learned that when I don't express those emotions inside of me, that I start to get like an anxiety and like this ball of emotions that are just held inside of me. And I need to release those through like a bike ride, working out. Like I need to express that somehow, like not hold it in because it doesn't do me well. So I think that's why a lot of the times when people go through life situations or people are stressed out, they kind of come to the gym to release some stress, because it really helps with that. We don't just say come work out to be fit and healthy. Like it does so much more for you, for your mind, for your emotions. It's definitely an outlet for me. So.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah, something that maybe you can help me explain. That's what I love about like being in here too. Like every day we check on each other constantly throughout the day. It's like, how are you feeling? How can we be better for the next session? How can we, like, we're constantly improving each other. And I remember a couple weeks back, Valencia, told me I was feeling a little, like sometimes we would rate it on a scale. How are you feeling from 1 to 10? And I think I told him like I was at like a 7, which I know he hates the number 7. He thinks it's pointless. But he told me like sometimes you don't have to push yourself and say, oh, I'm a 7, now I have to be a 10. He was like, just focus on being the best 7 that you can possibly be. Be consistent. And that kind of resonated really well with me. But yeah, sometimes I think it's super important, like you guys said, to just be really in tune with how you're feeling and find out a checklist of questions you can ask yourself to check your attitude.
There was a noise in the background, that's why we always look at squirrels. But no, that's beautifully put. I don't think there's anything else I have to explain past that. You did a good job.
Cool.
Do we have any comments or questions?
Just the one about Jorge, but I still don't know what that means.
Is that your mood today, Jorge? Just like a water gun, a knife?
I assume they're all nice things. All good things, all good
Is
things.
he working out later? Maybe we should switch up the workout for him.
I'm gonna see him later. But no, yeah, that's a great way to do it. And of course, your attitude also goes directly reflecting onto yourself. And what I mean by that is like, what is your attitude for yourself? I know that's been a giant thing that I'm working on, and I feel great. Like, I feel way better now that I've been more aware about my attitude toward myself and what are the emotions, feelings, actions, and all of that other stuff, and like verbal talk that comes towards me comes to me from me. I think that goes hand in hand with everything else. If you don't address yourself how you want to, in a good manner or in the right manner, it's harder to address the other situations. And like genuinely, I want to say genuinely because I know faking it isn't exactly the hardest thing in the world, but to be like 100% genuine from yourself, like it all starts rudimentary from you. And so being able to have that attitude toward yourself. Like I know this weekend, for those of you who don't know, I ran all weekend, quite literally. But it made me really understand a lot more of like how to bring out the different parts of myself. And like my confidence was through the ceiling and my attitude was through the ceiling for myself. But for the event that I did, it was necessary to pull that out and for me to be in that sense. And it was a little bit overboard to a degree where it's like it was solely me and that's what I cared about. But when it comes to here, like I care about these guys a ton. So it's not like I'm gonna bring that same attitude where I have where it's only me, like, I'm great, I got this, like I don't worry about anybody else. I'm not gonna bring that when I'm talking to them. Because then like what does this make this? It makes it a very selfish thing on my part and it makes it not genuine when I talk to you guys. So my attitude has to switch, but I have to be okay with that and understand internally that like how do I feel? Do I feel good? Do I feel in a good state to talk? Do I feel all of these things moving in a proper direction? And if I do, then it's like, okay, I can sit down and talk with you guys. And I can have like a good conversation where it's not like I'm trying to get something from you, or I'm trying to get something out of you, or I'm here, I'm just listening with like dead eyes, just being like, okay, whatever, like finish talk, shut up, go away. Like, it's like having that proper attitude about the entire situation and being able to jump from one to the other, and it comes from being comfortable with yourself, which I know is a big thing that I think most people have a lot of work to do, because I know that I do.
I don't know, I think I'm pretty, no, kidding. I kind of want to touch on this subject a little bit, and I want to talk about the ego for a little bit, because I feel like people think about the ego in a negative way a lot of the times, because that's where like your sense of self comes, right? So like the I wants, the jealousies, like why not me? Like that's all kind of created from your ego. But when you use your ego in a positive way, that's where confidence comes from. So that's where like I can, I will, I'm capable. Like you need to kind of train your thoughts to become more of like I can versus like, this came up, or like the negative sense of the ego. And I just want to say that because I feel like a lot of the times we're so quick to say like, oh, your ego's making you act this way, or, I hate hearing that. Like, I don't like using that because there is a positive way to use it, and I think that a lot of us don't tap into that. So, yeah.
I think, what was it? Again, another person that I look at the internet, they probably won't meet for a long time. But they said something, they're like, oh, someone told me I have a big ego. I told them, thank you. And it was less of the fact of like, oh, you have a big ego, like you're a terrible person. It was more of like, you have a big ego. It's like, good. I believe in myself.
Mm-hmm. That's confidence right there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's also the same thing. Like if you're like too far gone, then it's like, it then comes like the arrogance. And then like if you're solely about you, which to a degree, for different people, different situations, that is 100% necessary.
Yeah.
But the ego is necessary for the fact that it's like, if you don't believe in yourself, you don't have that confidence, you're not going to succeed, at least to the best that you can. That's something that I'm definitely learning.
Yeah.
Sounds like we're all kind of in a little bit of a different phase with that, and like kind of teaching ourselves how to be more in tune with ourselves.
Yes.
So, yeah, I like it.
It's a,
Yeah,
it's a continuous
definitely.
learning progress.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think we should all challenge each other in making sure that we tap into ourselves and see how we're feeling, why we're feeling that way. It's okay to feel those emotions. Make some time throughout the day to do that. It's important. Especially when you're not feeling well. Figure out why. And I want to know why you don't like sevens.
Yeah.
It's such a cop out for like everything. It's like, oh, how do you feel? Like, oh, 7. Like, oh, like what would you rate this one out of 10? It's like, 7. It's like it's an easy answer that requires like little to no thought. Like it's almost like a go-to. So it's like, but then if you're like an 8, people are like, from 7 to 8, everybody's like 8 is like pretty like close to like extremely good. That's what they rate it. And like 6, nobody ever wants to rate like anything like 6 or below. So it's like everybody's like, oh, 7, because it's an easy answer.
He's not wrong.
Like it requires like the least amount of thought. But then once you start placing value on like the other numbers, it's like, oh, then you can really rate something like a 4 and like know that it's a 4. And like when you rate something like at like an 8 or a 9, you can understand you're going more to like the upper echelon of stuff. But like 7 is just such a cop out.
Agreed.
Good to know. All right.
That's how I feel on the number 7. Anything else you guys want to add?
What about our people watching us? Does anybody do something to kind of correct their attitude or get
As
us
soon
the
as
right
you said that,
attitude?
Nelly posted a
Oh.
paragraph.
Oh, wow.
So, Nelly said, my attitude has changed a lot over the past year. I was always a people pleaser and never knew how to say no, especially towards family members. If I say no, I would feel guilty. But I learned to take care of myself and put myself first and not have that guilty feeling when saying no to someone when I can't make that favor for them. Yes, I have people that don't talk to me anymore, but it's okay because I understand their true intentions towards me.
Wow.
Nice.
Awesome.
So interesting how that happens, how people kind of just space themselves from you when you start focusing on yourself. And that's right, Naomi, it's okay.
That's cleansing your life
Yes.
with that. Yeah. That's awesome, Nelly. Very cool.
Saying no has always been a big thing. Like I think for like I said, for most people.
Yeah, I'm definitely like that. I don't know how to say no, and I'm learning that I need to say no sometimes.
100%.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No. Okay. Start now.
It's like, actually, no, I don't agree with no. But no, that's been something that I know I've gotten like a lot better on over the past couple of months too. Of just being like, oh, can you do this? I'm like, no, I can't. Like, it's very simple. Like, rather than tacking it onto my plate and having like another thing to do, it's like, no.
Yeah.
And it's funny how like once you start saying it, like understanding that you're not just saying it to say it, like that's key difference. Let's put that on the open. You're not saying it just to say it, but you say it with like the intention of good behind it for not only just you but for the other person. And it's like, okay. Like I was asked to shoot a video for somebody, and I told them I was like, no, not because like I can do it, but it's gonna take a lot of my time. It's gonna take a lot of effort, and I also know it's like that's not my focus. So why am I gonna say yes to it just to make a quick buck? Versus I know somebody else that can do it, and that's what they do. So it's like no, but this person.
Yeah.
And so finding that balance.
Yes.
I think we all came away for a little bit of a new perspective and a little bit
Yeah.
of an attitude shift in one way or another.
I feel good after this one.
I got into the right attitude to talk about attitude, for sure.
Yes.
I told them that in the morning. I'm ready.
Like, all right, sick.
She came in here with her arms crossed, like.
Yeah.
But I think that's about all I got. Anything else, guys?
Yeah. That's all I got for today.
All right.
That's all
Well,
Yeah.
who wants to do it?
I think Sean should do it.
Is it Fit Family 3? All right, let's get a Fit Family 3. 1, 2, 3. Yeah!